Hey there, folks. Just got my old Southern California palm postcards up. Super excited to see this. And yeah, just put some time putting the nails in and hanging up these postcards. I think they look really awesome. So I just want to share this with you. And yeah, see what you guys think. If you guys know about any of these palms or have visited them, I would love to hear about that. And yeah, just super interesting stuff. I think, just the history behind all these palms. And I'm so glad I was able to get my hands on some of these postcards, because for a couple of them, they were the only ones out there that I could find. And for some of them, like this one, for example, which I'll explain, there are several of these that I found. I just wanted to get one. Like this one, for example, actually has writing on it, which I don't know if it makes it more valuable or not, but it probably does to a degree. But I also just think it's super cool to have like the actual, a lot of them have postage stamps on the back, and actual, like, were mailed to different cities around the US. And I just thought that was super cool. Like, this says 1/30/06. So that was written on January 30th of 1906, which is pretty crazy. So this postcard is probably from 1905. And that's just, I think, super neat. And I love seeing that March 17th, 1908 there. But yeah, I got this. So this is the Sarah palm from San Diego, which is, planted, supposedly the first palm planted in California. Obviously there's native palms, but this was the first one supposedly planted, which, um, a Phoenix dactylifera, as you can see there. There was some debate about whether, it's maybe a Canariensis, because that was supposedly what the missionaries originally planted. There was like some skepticism about whether it really was planted by the missionaries or was planted at a later date. And obviously we never know if it was, the Junipero Serra, the missionary who planted it, or if it was one of his, the people with him. We don't know exactly whose hands planted it, but I mean, you palm lovers out there can see it looks pretty distinctly dactylifera, especially here. Little less Canariensis. But yeah, I mean, supposedly they traveled to the Canary Islands before coming here. Still could be dactylifera. See, there's plenty of dactylifera growing in the Canary Islands at the time. But this palm was planted in 1769 and died in 1957. Supposedly I don't know if it would still be alive today. There's debate about that, but could have lived longer if it hadn't been neglected so much. There was musket balls and stuff like that pulled out of its trunk. It suffered from lead poisoning. The crown had begun tilting severely by the end. In the 50s, there were efforts to restore it and save it in the early 50s. You can see pictures of it. There's a great article in like the San Diego Historical Society or something. They had like it tethered, like the palm tethered in several directions to like telephone poles and stuff. So they'd like keep it upright. And then finally in 1957, the lead poisoning got to it. It just died. So it definitely could have lived longer. There's no question about that. We just don't know how long. And it's kind of sad, but even though it was fenced off and protected, and it did live till 1957, which is pretty impressive, 1769 to 1957, that's nearly 200 years. So that's pretty incredible. And it would definitely be an incredibly old palm if we're still alive today. So this is the one that's not still alive, but supposedly the oldest palm planted in California. So very, very historic when talking about the history of palm cultivation in California. So definitely, a must when knowing about historic individual palms in California. And then up here, we have, I guess I'll go to this one next, which is, the second oldest, planted, moved around 1850 to near downtown LA, moved to the Arcade Depot, and then moved again in 1921 to its current location where it still stands. And I have a video of it, which is pretty crazy, which is an Exposition Park in front of the LA Memorial Coliseum. Actually, it was moved there a couple years before the Coliseum was built, but this is a picture of it at its second location, and supposedly the most frequently moved palm in the city. This is the Arcade Depot. It's an old actual streetcar building. You can see the streetcar there, the trolley. And you can see two of them there emerging from the station. And this is one of the postcards, there's a picture of this exact postcard on Wikipedia, not the exact one, but one just the same kind. And I wasn't able to find any others for sale, so thankfully I got my hands on it, and it was actually really cheap. But yeah, this is the kind of thing which I bet you wait another like 30 years, because antiques are pretty popular right now. Probably cost a lot more, maybe 30, 40 bucks. I don't know. Maybe it's just speculation, but I've been following the market a little bit with that kind of stuff, just a little bit to see how things have changed over the years. But yeah, you can see that palm there. And even at the time, they knew its importance when they moved it there in the 1880s. They already knew it was a very old, one of the older palms in LA, which is, I guess why, or I guess it was more so the second move to 1921. But it looks like, if you guys see there, it looks like there's a plaque in front of the palm. So I guess it's probably a historic plaque, maybe marking its history. I know the current plaque, I think was placed there maybe in the 20s when it was moved. It's sometime a while ago, but obviously it's in a different location now. They demolished the Arcade Depot. That's why they had to move it again. And they put a new building there. So that's super cool. And then we have these are the long, I think it's called Long Streets. Is that the name? No, Long something, palms, also, the street was known as Palm Drive, or Adams Street, West Adams Street. You can see all these Victorian homes, all demolished now. It's the medical center there now, but the Palms still stand, and stands even an understatement. The Palms Tower, you know, they really live up to the name Sky Duster. They're, you know, over 130 feet probably now. You see pictures of them. They're the oldest Mexican fan palms in the city, supposedly. You never really know with this kind of stuff, but supposedly the oldest, and they were planted in 1865, right at the end of the Civil War. Longfellow, I think was the name. Is it Longfellow? I'm blanking on it now, but the guy who planted it, and there's apparently a Confederate general who's named General, you know, said name. I think it's Longfellow. I'm forgetting the name now. It was like originally thought that he planted it because the name was similar, but apparently it was another general by the same name who planted it. Because I looked it up and I'm like, wait, this general from the Civil War had nothing Wikipedia mentioning him or his wife in California at all in LA, and it'd be pretty strange if they had this home there for the rest of their life. But no, it was actually a different general. So that's kind of interesting. There's a whole article on it. And if you look, there's an article about these palms from 1938. It actually mentions that the general's name was different from the one who fought in the Civil War. So just an interesting bit of history, and so much history behind the palms in California. And it's so cool to see that these ones up there are still alive and growing, and I bet they will be for a while despite their age, because they're pretty darn impressive specimens. And if I ever get out there, I've been out there, if I ever move out there or have the opportunity to speak to the gardeners, I got to tell them to prune these things a little lighter. If you see these things, I mean, here they're pruned, I wouldn't say heavily, but here they even have skirts, and there's some pictures of them from like the 20s when they're full of like, you know, top to bottom skirts. They should just let them skirt out. I mean, you know, the skirts are going to accumulate very slowly because they're, you know, at the, you know, basically peak of their height. They're not going to be growing a lot taller, so they're not going to get crazy skirts. And I mean, yeah, just let them skirt. Same with this one, the one in LA. I mean, they used to let it skirt like the tiniest bit. Then in like 2018 or 2019, they give it like a massive over trimming. And today it's basically just like all green fronds, no skirt. But I mean, come on, just they should really just let it skirt. And you know, any prune job, even if they only intend to trim off the brown leaves, can render harm. You know, whether they accidentally cut off a green leaf or something to the palm. And these are just such historic palms. You should just leave them in their natural state. Let them look like that, because I think it looks pretty darn cool. So yeah, those are my palm postcards. Just want to share that with you because I made a video of it. I think it was like 2 days ago. I posted it yesterday. But yeah, I finally got them up. I've had these postcards for a while, and glad to get them up framed and on my wall. So just want to share that with you. Thanks for watching, folks. Just super interesting. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, if I ever like actually go back to if somehow I ever actually move out to Southern California, and I ever visit those two palms on top, like those two locations. Obviously, these ones are a lot of palms. I would, you know, I would love to like bring these framed postcards there and actually like do a comparison like right next to them, because that would be pretty crazy. All right, take care, folks. Thanks for watching. These are you know, my antique Southern California palm postcards. Finally got them up on the wall. So have a good one.